Welcome to the Game of Thrones world. Congratulations on a fantastic first episode.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
mate.
Of course, they say when a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin.
Yeah.
On one side, greatness. On the other side, madness. I'd love to hear from both of you. Where does Viserys land? Where does Daemon land?
Greatness.
My coin's still spinning.
Still spinning.
Still going, mate. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm great.
You are great.
What does that mean in the Game of Thrones universe?
What does what mean?
What does it mean? What does greatness mean?
It's a great. I'm only joking. I don't know. I don't know if he's a great. If it's greatness, well, I think there's a bit of both in him, really. But he's certainly not a destructive king, that's for sure. He's a compassionate king, and that's rare for this kingdom that we're familiar with.
He's not self-destructive either, is he?
No, he's not.
Whereas Daemon is utterly self-destructive.
No, he's serious. He takes his place in history seriously. The only thing that corrupts Viserys is maybe that he ultimately didn't have the right temperament to be a king, you know, and the duties and what that means, and fulfilling everybody else's needs, and you know, and he's perceived as weak because he doesn't go to war. But he's a compassionate man, and in the end, his compassion corrupts him, I think, too, which is, I think, it's even more tragic.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, I can't wait to see how it all plays out. I can't wait to see it. We've seen in the main series the most famous Targaryen that the mainstream world knows so far ultimately got portrayed as a villain. What do you think that what would the Targaryens of your era think of what happened almost 200 years later?
I'd be ashamed, but it played its part in the prophecy, didn't it? Really. It
Sure did.
You know, a Targaryen, as I remember my knowledge of it, a Targaryen was on the throne. But yeah, I'd be disappointed.
I wouldn't. I'd have backed her all the
I
way.
think I could. I wished I could have saved her at some point.
Yeah.
From that, but that's the coin that's still flipping, right?
Yeah, that's true. What do you think Daemon would have said to Dany?
I think he'd have been on the dragon with her, to be honest with you.
I can see it.
Let's have it. This is ours. Get out of the way.
I could see it. Now, if you could see your characters get a drink with one character from Game of Thrones, who would you like to sit down with and just kind of chat about Westeros?
That's a good question. Who would I want to go and have a drink?
I'd sit down and have a few hours with good old Ned.
Oh, all right.
That'd be a barrel of laughs, wouldn't
Why
it?
not?
I'd get the Hound involved, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, you never know what can happen there.
Big Rory.
Did either of you open up the book and try to find out where the story goes, or did you kind of not want to have it spoiled for you?
No, I left it where it was. But
Yeah.
you know, I had a sort of my mate brought me a big illustrated book version of it all, you know, and it was interesting. I'd just pick it up from time to time and pick out different bits of it, and you know, but no, I left it where it is. But I sometimes do that with scripts anyway. If I'm in something and I get killed off, I'll leave it where it is. And
Really?
Yeah, because it's quite interesting not knowing where
Sure.
something goes sometimes. I have done that before.
Matt, I know you got up close and personal with the dragon in the show.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about what that's like on set. Is there anything actually in front of you?
Well, yeah. You're what? When you're looking at the dragon, you mean?
Yeah, like because it looks so real. That had to act. You're touching something.
Yeah, it's like a green head basically with a guy with a stick, but it's quite a big green head. You know, it's the size of not the size of a dragon, but it's big. And then you can touch it and react to it, and they move it and fire a bit of wind at you.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
The dragons are amazing in this though, because this isn't a time where they were kind of, because I think it depending on where they're kept in their surroundings, that determines what size they grow to. Have I got that right? Do I remember that correctly?
I think so.
These things are out in the open, and like they grew to monumental sizes.
Welcome to the Game of Thrones universe. The first episode that I saw was incredible, so I wanted to start there.
Okay,
And
thank you.
Emma, I'm going to come to you first. They say when a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin. One side greatness, one side madness.
Yeah.
Where does
Hilarious.
Rhaenyra land?
I mean, I think Rhaenyra feels like a god born in a mortal body. I think that's a sort of, I think that's like a running theme actually with that family. And I think the problem with that is that hard to ask a god to compromise. Hard to teach a god compromise, actually. She is humming with the sort of fire and blood of old Targaryenism, and doesn't necessarily know how to direct that energy, I think. I think fundamentally that's the thing she has to learn. Like, what do you do with that? Difficult ally, fire. Yeah.
I imagine everybody would want to land on greatness. What would that mean in the Game of Thrones world?
Well, Game of Thrones world or House of the Dragon world?
Well, House of the Dragon world,
Okay.
Westeros.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess greatness is tied up with legacy and duty. And simultaneously, I think for Rhaenyra,
Does she
kind of
have any
none
of
of
that?
that's relevant.
Yeah.
And it's simply about being known and getting to live authentically. And somewhere along the line, that's about the thing that is her inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
And that all gets folded into identity for her, I think.
I can't wait to see the journey.
And
that
parent
sounds on.
pleasing.
Yeah, and parent pleasing.
Now, the Hightower family kind of lives alongside the royal family. I'd love to hear about how your character and your perspective fits into it, because I know you guys are close, your two characters are close. What does that mean to be like living adjacent to the Targaryens?
Yeah, we're best childhood friends, and there's a deep, intense love there that can only happen when you have your first best friend, and they mirror you so intrinsically, but then they're the complete opposite of you as well. And my father, he's the hand to the king, and he has his political ambitions no end. And so, when Rhaenyra's mother dies, the queen dies, he sees that as a incredible opportunity, and unfortunately I'm forfeit.
Now, I'd love to hear when you get cast in a prequel series to Game of Thrones, do you get an opportunity to meet anybody or talk to anybody, seek out advice from anybody who lived in this world before you?
Yeah, I mean, so Miguel Sapochnik, one of the co-showrunners, he set me up on a date with, so to speak, with Emilia Clarke. We all had. I know. Imagine.
I know.
Listen to what's coming out of my mouth.
I know. So
So I'm actually going for
for you.
dinner with them. And God, she was so generous. Like, she gave me hours, and she was so candid, and she spoke to all areas of that experience, and I think very cleverly held some stuff back, stuff to do with the release.
Yeah.
I'm due another date, actually.
Yeah.
If she's watching.
Amelia, pick up the phone.
Yeah, call me. But I think she was gently preparing me for the incredible stamina that this job requires, and sort of priming me for battle, actually, amazing person.
Yeah, that's really cool. I bet that's a cool experience. I would love to hear if you could play your characters and just have a drink and see your character interact with one of the characters from the previous show. Who would you like to see the dialogue and the banter between?
Maybe Alicent and Cersei. Have a bit of wine over the small council chamber. See what happens.
I'd like Rhaenyra to meet the Hound.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
She would be, I think, possibly so infatuated.
Oh my God, she
would give up. I feel like she might give up everything.
Yeah.
Just like sort of anyone who is able to carve a separate path immediately, magnet.
they would get along, I think. That'd be fun.
I think so too.
All right, the last thing I want to ask, when I walked in today, I noticed how different everyone looks in person versus in the show. Did you get to have any, because especially the Targaryen, the white hair, did you guys get to have any input on character design, costume, anything like that?
Yeah, we did. We had really elongated conversations, actually. I mean, with that emblem of Targaryenism, that blonde hair, I spent a lot of time with an amazing person, Ross Kalura, on the hair and makeup team, just trying to track how Rhaenyra how Rhaenyra reacts to this stuff as she changes through the series.
Yeah.
Because really amazing to have hair that is so much an image, so much a part of identity, and historic identity as well.
Millie, Fabien, pleasure to meet you both.
Nice to meet you. Thanks very much. Thank you.
The show's awesome. I've only seen the first episode, but so far so good. They say when a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin. On one side greatness, the other side madness. In your opinion, where does your character land?
Greatness, hands down.
Whoa.
Rhaenyra?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
Yeah.
And I think that's what's so frustrating, as the audience will learn, is that she's not heard, and it's so blindingly obvious how great she is and how wise she is beyond her years. but she's not given that responsibility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll see. We'll see how the greatness pans. I've seen other Targaryens claim greatness.
Oh.
Well,
Well, a little bit of sass. Well, you know.
Fabien, Sir Kristen, he's part of the royal family circus, if you will. He's outside of it, and we see some action in the first episode.
Yes.
I'd love to hear your perspective of how he fits into this whole Targaryen.
You know,
fit in?
how does he? What does he fit in? You know, who knows?
Yeah.
He, I think that he's the only Dornish character we see in the first episode, and so I think he's an outsider from the get-go because he looks different. And the original show it was like gave me so much in terms of how the Dornish are talked about and looked upon by people in Westeros. So there's definitely a feeling of like being an outsider. Like I was talking to a woman I work with, and she was saying like it's like a bit like how the Irish were looked at in England in the 50s, 60s, and before that, like no respect. And so I think he's an outsider, definitely.
So when you guys joined the show, did anybody from the original Game of Thrones reach out? Have you met anybody?
Nope.
Has anybody?
Nope.
I have.
You have.
I
haven't.
Yeah,
No.
I've met a few. Just like I did my first ever acting job was I did a film with Emilia Clarke. Well, I say I did a film.
You did a film. You did a scene.
I did like a couple of scenes that were subsequently cut to no scenes apart from my head like poking out. There's a photo someone sent me, and it's literally my head above Emilia Clarke's head, like trying to get my screen time. But I told all my mates, I was like, man, I'm in a scene with Emilia Clarke.
It's gonna be great.
It's going to be amazing, guys. Just you wait. And then the film came out, and they were like, dude, I don't think you're in the film. And I was like, well, yeah. So yeah, and I've also met Jamie Lannister like at a bar in LA, like
Crazy.
6 months ago. Yeah, it's surreal. I was so nervous to speak to him, and he's so tall and
How
so
tall is he?
handsome. Oh my god, like I don't know, it felt like 7'3". But
Is that allowed?
is that allowed? Was he allowed in?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like you did just kind of answer my next question, because I was going to say if you could take your character and see them have a drink with one character from the Game of Thrones,
Good question.
what kind of
The
conversation
original
would you like
Game
to
of
see?
Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh, that's such a good question.
Ooh, who'd
Who'd be
near
good for
have
a
a
pint?
drink? Who'd be good for a
Who
pint?
do I know is fun for? Who do you think? What characters?
The cat that the red
Tormund.
Tormund.
Is that his name? Tormund? Yeah, with the red hair.
Tormund.
Him,
I'd have a
100%.
pint
Mate.
with
He's the
Tormund.
coolest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your character in the books goes on to become leader of the King's Guard. Has quite a story. Did you turn to the books at all for inspiration? Do you want to see it go that way, or do you want to just kind of subvert expectations and do your own thing?
That's up to our writers.
Sure.
Like I think that we all. I mean, I think most of us read the book, and like it'd be exciting if that happens. If it doesn't, I'm sure that they'll create some other great concoction of something amazing. So we'll see. We'll see.
Sure. And you get to utter the famous word Dracarys.
I do, yeah.
Is that like do you like geek out of that moment and on set? Like, is there like actually any fire flying around?
No. Wait, did we on that day?
No, but is there fire on set the whole time?
No.
No, but like fire.
Oh, yeah. No, but because Dracarys means
Oh
fire.
yeah, it means fire. Oh, you
Yeah.
meant like, actually like after you
So
said
that's,
fire?
because it
Oh, yeah.
commands
Yeah.
And we were outside, so there's no
There was no fire.
There was no fire. But no, I think that I did read it and was like, oh, that's the thing. I get to say the thing. That's pretty cool. But I mean, I think that the circumstances that she has to say it is pretty tragic, and it's the last thing she wants
So
to
moving
say.
when you said
Unfortunately,
that. So like such a moving way.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
you were great in
Really?
that first
Oh,
episode.
thank you.
Yeah, really good.
I loved you too. You were great in that episode.
In the world of Game of Thrones, they say when a Targaryen is born, the gods flip a coin, and it can be one side is greatness, the other side madness. Your character born a Targaryen. Where would you say she landed?
Greatness.
Greatness. What does that mean in the Game of Thrones world?
You passed over for the queen.
Yes.
That's a big.
In a nutshell.
Yeah, I've seen the first episode. It's fantastic, and I'd like to hear what that being passed over as the queen. That's got to be a frustrating driving point for your character.
It's a pain in the neck, and it is a driving point. It's like having a sword in your gut. Yeah. However, the work is for it not to show, and for it not to become either a source of embitterment, which hurts nobody in the end but yourself, nor antagonism, nor potential danger. I mean, it's such a dangerous environment, so I think part of her skill is navigating her place in a really, really seamless and effortless way. So everything's fine. It's all good.
Because you never know who's waiting around one of those corners in this
Never
world.
know.
You never know.
know.
Steve, your character does go to bat for her claim to the throne. It
Yes.
seems like he's one of the few people actually bringing some logic to that table. Tell me what it's like to fit into this world and establish those dynamics between this royal family.
I think for him, I was going to say contempt. I don't think he has contempt for the people around him in, say, for example, in the small council. But he feels he's aware and wears it like a badge, the fact that he made his fortune. Everybody else there is inherited wealth. But his family was on its, I don't know, did we still use the term on its uppers? But anyway,
Yeah.
it was.
On his-
Today we do.
We do?
Yeah, today, yeah.
Yeah, his family was. But and then he went off and did these voyages as a youth, and he made a lot of money, and he became.
made it.
Yeah, he made his own money. He made his house grand, and so I think there is a part of him, and in fact, it comes out later in the season where he is very proud of that. I did that. I went out and I carved my fortune by myself. You didn't, and I feel he uses that as a badge, and I think he uses the fact that his wife was passed over also as a motivation, because as far as he's concerned, and I think an awful lot of people in the realm think, she should have been the ruler. And sometimes it does seem as if he's more angry about it than she is. He's like, yeah, should have been.
I know, which is great.
I think I'm going to like you too. I can't wait to see where this goes. Now, when you got cast in the part, you joined the Game of Thrones world. Did you get to get advice from anybody from the previous Game of Thrones cast or interact with anybody at all?
No, didn't.
God, I wish I had.
I know that
actually.
Emma did.
Did she?
Emma Darcy, they told me that they spoke to Emilia.
Oh, she did.
Emilia Clarke, who sort of gave some advice.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
If you could see your characters get to sit down for a drink with somebody who lived 200 years later, who do you think would be the most fun?
You think, like our characters?
who
what
our
you-
characters
what is
Take
it?
your
would sit
characters,
down
go sit
with?
down with their character and just,
Oh,
just
wow.
imagine
Who would
that
you
dialogue.
like to sit? I think I would like to sit down with.
Go
Who
ahead.
would you like to sit down?
I think Ned Stark.
Oh, would you?
Yeah, because I feel like he's a self-made man as well.
Yeah.
I think we'd have something in common.
Yeah. Actually,
Yeah.
that's true. I'd love to sit down with Brienne of Tarth.
Oh, yeah.
She's a
I
good
could
one.
see that.
Yeah, I think we'd have a lot in common.
Yeah.
Graham, welcome to the Game of Thrones universe. It's a pleasure to speak with you. You're playing Sir Harold Westerling. I feel like this guy has a pretty protective role as a member of the King's Guard, leader of the King's Guard. I'd love to hear about, from your perspective, what is it like fitting into the royal family with the Targaryens?
Yeah, well, to become a member of the King's Guard, you basically have to forsake all relationship ties. So no wife, no kids, no money, no title, no castle, all of this sort of stuff. And so it's almost like a religious order, really, that it's like the Knights Templar almost, a kind of warrior religious knight in a weird kind of a way. And in the same way of those kind of characters, historical characters, he is a very morally upright individual. He's very honest, he's discreet, but he hears and sees everything. His primary devotion, I would say, is to Rhaenyra, with whom he has almost a kind of fatherly sort of daughter kind of relationship. And he is, I think, secretly very pleased that she is nominated as heir to the throne. I think he thinks she's very capable and will do a great job.
No, I was going to follow that up by saying those sort of attachments with family that have to be cut off to be leader of the King's Guard. Does that does that void kind of get filled with any of the relationships with any of the Targaryens, as you just kind of touched on?
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess Rhaenyra being the most obvious one. But the Targaryens, as you will have realized, are a complicated family. And in the same way that he, I think, admires Rhaenyra and respects her, I think he is very wary and suspicious of Daemon. I think he sees a darkness there that he's quite disturbed by. And he's also not allowed to ever sit down, Sir Harold. Yes, never. You never see him sitting, apart from on a horse. That's it.
It's always at attention. Always got to be on guard.
Yeah, that's right.
I'd love to hear when you got the part. this character's fate. This character has a dark fate in those books. Did you go read anything to shape what you want to see happen or fulfill the story from the source material, or are you open to changing the fate a bit and exploring new territory?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really, my principal guide with this kind of thing is, you know, Ryan and Miguel and the writers of the show. And that's no disrespect at all towards George. But, you know, when you're crafting a television show, it's a very different animal, and you have to make it your own. And I personally choose to really devote myself to the script and the Bible of the show rather than necessarily taking my cues from the books. You know.
I remember when Game of Thrones was on, it was such a phenomenon. And it was one of the last shows I remember everybody watching at the same time because it was just on the cusp of streaming fully taking over. Did anybody from the Game of Thrones cast, have you talked to anybody, got any advice about entering this world?
Do you know, I haven't. And I'm beginning to think, you're the second person that's asked me that question. I'm beginning to think that I should. Yeah, it's probably a bit late now, but no, I didn't. The only connection I had with the Game of Thrones cast was I was accidentally nearly in a photo shoot with them at Comic-Con. I was they thought I was part of the cast mainly because I had a beard, I think, and then they just put me in. And because they were all English, they were too polite to actually say, who is he? Why is he here? I was like that guy that crashes weddings and just stands at the back and gets his photograph.
That show was kind of built on the phrase Vala Margulis, all men must die, and that was something it lived up to. How do you feel the House of the Dragon will live up to that?
Oh yeah. Well, there's going to be some shocks. Yeah, definitely. I think you never want to get too attached to anybody in the world of Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon. So yeah, it's there will be shocks, and generally they are the ones that you expect to see. That the surprises that you expect are never the ones that actually occur in this kind of twisted world that they've created. So it keeps you on your toes.
Oh, I'm ready to go on this roller coaster with you, man. Thank you so much for talking.
No, my pleasure, mate. My pleasure.
Ryan, Miguel, it's a pleasure to speak with you both. Congratulations on a fantastic first episode with House of the Dragon. I want to start at the beginning of this when Game of Thrones started coming to an end and there was a lot of ideas for continuing stories in this world. What was it about, like, the pitch for House of the Dragon that made you guys want to do this story with the Targaryens?
To me, this was, if you really think about it, this is the most obvious successor show to pursue. I mean, the minute George pitched it to me a million years ago, this is the one that I want to do the most. It made the most sense because we didn't get to know anything about the Targaryens in the original series. Not really. I mean, we got to know Daenerys very well and Viserys a little bit until he was melted, and so it's fascinating to go from that world where there were no Targaryens and they were trying to reclaim the scraps of this empire to a time when the height of their power and decadence and glory, and see what it was actually like when they were in power with dragons.
Now, I'd love to hear about do you have a picture in mind of how long this can go for, where it's going to end up? Have you started thinking about all that, or is this, or because I know you're using the book a bit more loosely than Thrones did?
We have a very, very precise idea of where we want to go with it, but we can't tell you. And I think that the important thing is that this is think of this as an episode 4 in the Star Wars episode 4. It's kind of, we're in the middle of a history that is rich and full of stories to tell. And it's a good place to start. As Ryan said, the question that I'm left with at the end of Thrones of the original season, when you start to look at, what do I want to know more about, is I'm fascinated by the idea of, like, what are Dany's origins? Like, where do these people come from? Why are they so crazy? Where did they get that white hair from? I mean, I think that this answers those questions and gives you a real sense of Targaryenism. We've got a thing in this show which we call Targaryen Exceptionalism, which is an argument, a kind of a philosophical argument that often happens between Viserys and his brother, where one sees the future of Targaryens belongs to the dreamers, who are the people, the occasional characters, the occasional Targaryens who have prescient vision and see the future as they did see the end of Valyria. And then there's the old school fire and blood Targaryens, like our character Daemon, who really think that everything should be conquered and conquest is everything.
That's an interesting dynamic in the family. I'm looking forward to watching it play out. I would love to hear, do you guys think that not having an existential threat that's so looming as it was throughout the kind of from the first episode, we knew winter is coming was the theme. It was an existential threat to everybody in Westeros. That's not such a present idea in House of the Dragon. How does that change the dynamic of storytelling?
Well, I think honestly, I think it makes it a more complex story, and I don't think you could have started here. I think that we're standing on the benefit of the shoulders of that towering original series and being able to play off of that. But if we came back and there was another, the White Walkers are back, or there's a dark threat from across, in a Shy or something like that, it would have that kind of rehashed sort of feeling to it. I think the compelling thing here is to tell a really dramatic Shakespearean tragedy that doesn't rely on the big bad. The big bad actually is within, and it changes as you move along through the story, because you will have feelings of that's a hero and that's a villain, and oh no, now he's the villain and he's the hero as you see the timeline unfold. So I just think it's a more adult story. I mean, what I always say is Empire Strikes Back could not have been existed without A New Hope, and A New Hope had the Death Star. Empire Strikes Back is this tiny little family drama of these friends that essentially go on the run from the Empire. And yeah, Darth Vader is still there, but you don't have that looming big bad to carry you through it. But it's an intensely interesting drama as a result. And a lot of people actually like it better than the original, but it couldn't exist without A New Hope.
So I will leave it at this. Which episode are you most looking forward to everybody getting a chance to see and experience together?
Episode 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Well played. I can't wait to see all those myself. Thank you both. Huge fan of your work, and I can't wait to see more of House of the Dragon.
Thank you, Brandon. Nice to talk to you.
Thanks, Brandon. Cheers, man.